it just sounds like unreal.
GMT is my personal favorite.
Oh, nice. Thanks. One of my favorite bands of all time. Doot Doot is the track that I love. This is like my happy place.
A French one.
The French one. I played this last year, I think, at a festival in France, and I only discovered it last year as well, but I guess it's probably a classic for you guys. But yeah, La Compapadad, it's good, and it works really well on the dance floor, and it's like, what, from the 60s? And I have no idea what it means or what they're saying in it.
I don't even know what La Compapadad means.
No, okay, good. But it's a good tune, very rhythmic. This is another, this record's incredible, and I only discovered it this year, I think. The BBC was doing an auction of some of their archives, and this is one of the things on it. The whole record's a bit weird, but there's one amazing track. High Flying Electric Bird, that's the track that's amazing.
Why is it amazing?
It's just got this, I mean, it's super weird, the lyrics are very good, and it's got this amazing horn hook, which I've been thinking about sampling at some point.
This one is such a happy song. I didn't know about this song.
Yeah. It's a good one for the end of the night.
Yeah.
In the club. Surprisingly works very well as a dance floor tune. Also because it's almost 9 minutes long. It's a long way there. You know, you can really get into it on a dance floor.
Have you tried it on the dance floor?
Yeah, I actually, I think it was the last tune I played at my club that I opened in London for 10 days a few weeks ago. It's one of my favourite tunes. Yeah. I'm glad you had this. I don't have this. I've just listened to it a lot, but I hadn't bought the record. Doot Doot is the track that I love. I have not listened to the rest of this record, but Doot Doot is like just, it's so well produced and like ahead of its time. Yeah, I love it. And not many people know it.
This one is special because it's like the first side project of
who? I don't actually know.
Of Underworld.
Oh, is that what it is?
And I checked and I was like, oh, but this is like the debut album from Underworld, before they were called Underworld.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So many discoveries.
Yeah.
And I love the artwork.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really simple. I mean, just like the production on it, it's super simple. Ah. I can't remember when I discovered this, but it's just got this amazing horn hook, and I play it quite a lot out. It's like it's always one that like takes the dance floor in a different direction and surprises people, but it always gets the dance floor going no matter what. Was it popular in France, this tune?
It was.
Because in the UK, I don't think it was. But I've heard when I play it out, sometimes people come up to me and they're like, they expect it to be heard at like a wedding or something.
Yeah, not on a club dance floor, for example.
Yeah.
But have you played it in France?
I don't know.
It would be crazy. I mean, people would go crazy for sure. Is it every time you hear something that you like, you're like, okay, I'm going to play it at my shows?
No, I do, and I always take way too much music, way more music than I could ever play at my shows, and I often forget. But that's why it was so good at this club thing that I opened in London, because I got to play every day for 10 days, and I got to play every record I've ever wanted to play in the club, because I could, you know, it felt like my living room by the end of it. I was so comfortable there.
It was just a little bit more people in it.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have a lot of people in your living room.
Occasionally. This is one of my favorite records of all time. Just like beautiful from front to back, with this incredible string arrangements and percussion and vocals, like all the backing vocals and the harmonies and stuff. Yeah, it's like a perfect Brazilian record. It was one of the records that made me start looking into discovering more Brazilian music. There's just so much incredible stuff out there.
Have you ever used it in your songs?
I've attempted to.
Okay.
But it's too good. And I just feel bad whenever I try and sampling it, because it's the perfect record. I don't want to mess with it. Oh, surprised you. Okay.
This one is crazy.
Yeah.
I heard it's like the first primitive guitar record. I didn't even know what primitive guitar meant.
No.
Still don't.
It's just like stunningly beautiful, this record, especially Blue Crystal Fire is the track that I love.
Fast flowing waterfall.
The most, but the whole thing. I mean, there's a few Robbie Basho records that are really great. It's just him and a guitar, but like there's something in the tone of his voice when he's singing. There's like guttural and yeah, very moving.
Do you play the guitar?
Not well.
Okay. Not like him.
No. It's a good driving record. It's a good road trip record. Driving around America, like in Joshua Tree in the desert, I've definitely listened to that a lot.
Like this one from Nancy and Lee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the back and forth between them.
I took the wedding ring off of my hand
Before I put my arms around.
Their voices, the way he recorded the vocal sounds, especially, and using the echo chambers in those studios in LA, it just sounds like unreal. And the depth of his voice as well is so incredible. I tried to like capture kind of sonically that sound for Oliver's record for Hideous Bastard, but I mean it's impossible to achieve. Just like the studios that they had back then when they recorded that. I even tried to go to some of the original studios in LA where they recorded some of these tracks to capture that same reverb for Oliver's record, but it's just something magical about it that can't be recaptured. But like their back and forth. Often makes me think about Oliver and Romy's back and forth on tracks. Like
When I gave up, I found love.
The thought flows through my mind.
They are the modern Nancy and Lee.
maybe.
We love that.
Oh yeah. I did a remix of Bloom on this.
How important was it for you? Like,
I mean, massively important. I don't think I'd met Tom York at that point. After I did that remix, then I got to play the Boiler Room with him. And I've done a couple of festivals where we've hung out a little bit.
when was it?
Like 2011 or something?
Okay.
12 maybe? But like, yeah, getting asked to do that was pretty special, and I spent a lot of time. I think I did 3 remixes in the end, and I released one, and then I ended up releasing another one, like very limited one on 12-inch on white label. Yeah, I haven't listened to that in a long time. I did like it. But yeah, they're obviously one of the best bands ever, and one of my favourite bands of all time, Radiohead. So it was a real honour to be asked to do that.
I remember I discovered you with like remixes and shuffles. What is cool about doing remixes of other artists?
It's a really good way of just like doing something with less pressure, I find.
Okay.
I find it quite easy because you're given like a jumping off point, which can just be the vocal or something recognizable from the original track, and then you can totally do your own thing. But I just feel like it takes all the pressure off, which is, I guess, why when I was younger I did a lot of remixes, because I was trying to find my way and get to the point where I could make my own albums. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do love doing them. I need to get back into it.
So we can be reassured it's happening again sometime soon.
Yeah. I know that, yeah, I mean, I obviously, I like them very much. I'm a fan. The remixes from the early 2000s of them were like very inspiring. I think it's a massive influence for Romy, especially. And
are there a lot of things that, for example, Romy or Oliver introduced you to?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're always playing music to each other, and that's basically like how we start writing most music, is we just sit in a studio and start playing stuff that we like, and then start playing our instruments and something happens.
Who has the best recommendations?
Me.
Of course.
No, everybody does, and it's good because everybody's, especially now that we've all done our solo records, everybody's tastes have like kind of gotten even further apart. So when we come in, we're playing stuff from totally different worlds, but I think that can only be a good thing when it comes to collaborating.
Yeah, it will be different. I mean, richer.
Hopefully.
Looking forward.
We'll see. This is the album version of The World is a Ghetto, which is a great track, but the one that I always play out is the US disco mix, which is just a 12-inch, and the track's like 13 minutes long, I think. And it's one of my favourite tracks of all time. And it's got all these different solos that happen every 2 or 3 minutes. Again, that's one of the tracks that I heard at Plastic People that became like a staple of my DJ sets, and just my, like, any house party I ever play, I always play this tune, but the extended version.
And what is the perfect moment in the party to play it?
I'd say like 2/3 of the way in.
Okay.
And everybody's tired of listening to house music and electronic, like heavy stuff. It's very light, but it's still like, it's so groovy, and it's got a kick drum all the way through, and you can really mess with it with the mixer and stuff when you're playing, because the solos are so long. It's very fun.
Yeah, it's fun for everybody.
Yeah.
The dancers and the DJ.
Yeah. This is the record that I remixed in like 2011 or 10 or something.
But if you let me, here's what I do.
When Richard Russell was producing this, we were writing the first XX record, and Richard Russell owns XL, so he would like come down to the studio, and he was really interested in the MPC stuff that I was doing. Obviously I was so excited to be able to do that, mostly just because I was so young and naive, and like, but obviously Gil was a massive influence, and it's like something I grew up with. But I think it was lucky that I was so young and naive, because if somebody asked me to do that now, I wouldn't be able to pull it off without overthinking. And
You didn't overthink for this one?
I don't think so. I just remember making it and being really excited about it, and I'm so grateful for that. And I got to meet him and hang out with Gil a few times, go to his shows and hang out backstage. And he came to play a show with me one time, and I just got to talk to him about his life and his dad and music. He was like always so inspiring and just excited about music, like right up until the end, whether or not it was like from his era or my generation. And yeah, I'm so grateful that I got to do that and work in some way with him.
That's so precious.
Mm-hmm.
Like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have one from Joy Division.
Oh, yeah.
You haven't gone for the obvious one.
No, I mean, I picked this one here because I wanted to see if you had it, because it's like a $6,000 record.
It's the first one, like self-released and...
Yeah. Super rare.
So long sitting here, been hella warning, waiting for the tick to run.
Amazing. So you have it.
Were you introduced to the band through this record?
No. I mean, just through like the classics, I guess. But then obviously I've gone back and listened to everything. It's cool to see like a part of the genesis of that incredible story. But
Yeah.
it's one of the first.
Do you think first records, they're always like symbolic or important? Or do we put too much pressure on them?
Well, I don't know, like there was some dodgy music that we did before the album that still exists somewhere on 7-inch. I definitely don't think is worth a listen.
Well, we have it here. And talking about first albums, we have, of course, this one. When you look at the artwork, what is your first memory of it?
Like playing in tiny pubs to nobody.
When you're the one that I've kept closest,
This whole record was made to play live. Like, we wrote the whole thing pretty much before we had a record deal, and we just played like 3 or 4 shows every weekend somewhere in London in some smelly pub, and eventually people came to listen to us, but there was a lot of gigs that were to nobody.
How was it?
I mean, it's like the most fun ever. Some of the best times of my life. And then we were allowed to record it at XL Recordings, and they had this garage, which wasn't a studio, it was just literally a dusty old garage. And they let me just stay there every night. I basically lived at XL Recordings for about a year. Made
Sounds
this.
nice.
Yeah, it was super fun. Super fun. I can't believe they let me do that. Yeah, wild times. Yeah.
What does it inspire you? When you see it back, like, what is the first memory?
I mean, this is in like so many amazing records. It's one of like the genesis of a lot of rave and breakbeat stuff, and I use that all the time just for like layers of things.
If it's not in your vision,
It's probably one of the most sampled records of all time, I guess. That palette that Jungle has is so recognizable. You can like use it and it kind of gives an instant nostalgia, but then you can do anything new over the top, which is that was kind of the idea with Gosh.
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, there's something about that, the drum break on that, it has like a certain tone to it, especially the snare. If you put it in anything, you can like elevate it. But I've never seen it on the 7 actually, because it's so used that, you know, like it's very easy to get hold of the digital version of it to sample. So I've never had any reason to have it on vinyl. It's cool to see. Oh yeah. This was the vocal sample in Girl. It's cool to see. This doesn't have the a cappella on it, which is the one that I sampled. Sometimes I'll like hear something and for the first time and like it'll be instant that I know that I want to use it, and then I'll go to the studio and do it very quickly. But most of the time I just have, not as many records as this, but I have quite a lot. I'll store them away up here, and at some point, like when I'm making a piece of music and it just comes to me and I'll remember it and I'll go and dig it out and try and find it. But my record collection is a big mess. I'd love to have it organized like this. This is incredible. Sometimes you just need an element of something like during the process of making a track to like inspire you again. And sometimes it's the genesis of a track. It really depends, but like most of the time when most of the things that inspire me is just listening to records, whether it's sampling or just getting inspired by somebody else's idea.
You remember this one?
Yeah, kind of. I think I tried to sample this so many times on different things because I always loved that sort of the vocal thing and the chorus of That's How Heartaches Are Made. I think I ended up using it on the Gil Scott-Heron record.
Eyes half closed, reveal his world of night.
But there's some samples, some records I always come back to just because of like the texture that they have in them. That was one of them.
There are records that you use like multiple times?
Well, yeah, I mean, the things don't get released, but there's some things that I always just like love and like, or I'll try and sample things multiple times for different things until it works.
In your new record, would you say, what was your process of using samples on the new record that is out?
Well, like, I went back to kind of the way that I started producing when I was a kid, because the start of making this new record was in the pandemic, and there was like no, I had no idea when music was gonna happen again, when live gigs were gonna happen. And so I had to go back and just start making music for the love of it again. And then I started enjoying doing it like I did when I was a kid, just for me, basically. And a lot of that involved sampling. So yeah, there are a lot of samples on the new record because of that.
Is there a specific one that you want to share that you keep close to heart?
Well, they all have meaning, but the sample on Treat Each Other Right is a track called Oh My Love by Almita Letimore.
All we got to do is treat each other right.
That track is so good on its own. That was one of the ones that I've like sampled multiple times, trying to make different versions and it ended up with Treat Each Other Right.
All we got to do is treat each other right.
I couldn't find it.
Good. Still got some secrets then.
Yeah, it's a good sign sometimes. What's your relationship to being sampled?
Well, I think I'm just hitting the point where I'm like old enough that the younger generation has started sampling me a little bit. I found some tracks recently that I now play out that other people have done sampling me, which is great because it means I get to like play new things out that are still referencing my old music, and it just keeps it fresh for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool. Well,
what about that one?
That's the Loud Places sample. Also just an incredible record. And I still play the original out when I'm DJing sometimes. The great thing about sampling is that you get to like talk to these people and hopefully make a connection. And some of the artists which are lesser known, then it kind of brings them back into the world a little bit, and people discover their music, and hopefully they benefit from it too. This is obviously Oliver's record that I produced. I haven't listened to it since it came out.
Really?
Well, you spend like years doing it and listening to it thousands and thousands of times. You never really want to listen to it ever again.
Well, you should. It's beautiful.
But it's nice to see it.
The lack of a kiss did more than 1,000. It's less about you than a romance with a memory.
Romance with a Memory is the track that we made before he was gonna make an album. We made it in my studio at home, and then I was like trying to convince him to make an album off the back of that, because that happened very quickly, and I thought, this will be easy. It wasn't that easy.
And there's a sample of the Beach Boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
On GMT.
On GMT, yeah.
Greenwich Mean Time, missing you.
I've always wanted to use that sample. It's one of those ones where I've like tried it on many different things, and I'm glad I got to use it on that.
GMT is my personal favorite.
Oh, nice. Thanks. Yeah, I love it too. That was one of the ones that kind of came quite easily.
It's such a personal record for him. Mm-hmm. How did you feel like getting into this personal and intimate space and helping him telling the story?
I mean, I loved it. I think we got even closer than we already were. I didn't think that was possible. But the best thing about making this record was just being able to spend every day with Ollie and hanging out. And we wrote it in some beautiful places as well as London. And it always kind of just felt like a really nice holiday. And Ollie had such a clear idea of what he wanted to do, and it's very him. He's always loved all this horror stuff.
You don't?
No, I'm terrified of it. But like when we were growing up, he would always try and make me watch these scary movies when we had sleepovers. And I did watch them, but I didn't enjoy them. And he still loves them. Okay. So that's all him. And he did such an amazing job with the artwork and with the film and stuff that he did.
And you're in it. Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I just had to scream and get my guts pulled out, that's always a fun day. Rami's record?
You've co-produced, right?
I did Enjoy Your Life on here.
Enjoy your life.
And I produced, I went into the studio with her for a bunch of it and spent a long time working with her, but she had such a clear vision of what she wanted to do. And I was trying to write my record at the same time, and we were kind of in different headspaces. So in the end, I wanted her to do exactly what she wanted to do. So most of it, I left it up to her and some other producers on it. But I'm really glad we got to put Enjoy Your Life on there. That has one of the samples that I've always wanted to use on it, so I'm glad it made it on there. My favourite track on this is actually The Sea. I think I heard it for the first time when we were driving around Ibiza with me and Rami.
From the point where you've decided to make record solos, both three of you, was it like logical to be a part of, to be included in each other's work? Because they're on your next record as well, together on a track.
I mean, it was logical for me to have them on my album. I can't imagine not doing that. Like, they're the reason why I get to do all of this. I'm like forever grateful. And also they're just my favourite people to work with. It's super easy, it always goes well. They're super talented. And obviously I wanted to be a part of their records, but I wanted them to also do whatever they wanted to do.
How do you see like the future maybe working together back again?
Well, that's what we're trying to work out right now. I don't know where it's going to end up with the new XX stuff, but I think the best results always come from there being some challenge, and the fact that we've all done our own thing, and it's been a while since we've been in the studio together, is a good challenge, and it's only going to breed some good ideas. But we'll see. I mean, there's some good bits that we've made already. I really like it, but it's always about finding the story and the thing that brings the music all together, and that's what we're kind of searching for at the moment.
I was at your show at Primavera, I don't remember when it was, and you've started the set with White Ferrari from this record.
Yeah.
It was so special.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm sure we're taller, another dimension. You say we're small and...
So, Frank works with lots of people on his records, and I was lucky enough to go into the studio with him a few times when he was working on this. There were so many versions of tracks on this. I did some work on Nikes and White Ferrari and Ivy, but then I have no idea what ended up on the record, but it was just a joy to be able to hang out with him, and this record influenced so much, especially now, pop music that's being made now is still really referring to this and what he did with this record. So I'm happy to be a little part of it, whatever that is.
And you don't even like recognize the parts maybe where you're...
I imagine that none of my stuff ended up on it, but
I prefer the story where you're in it.
yeah, me too. Yeah. I mean, he gave me a thank you in the book, so that's enough.
Yeah. The You've Got the Love remix.
Yeah. That was the first thing I ever did, like that wasn't in the band, I guess. Although I think that actually, like, on Spotify and stuff, it says it's the XX remix, because I guess I didn't have a name at that point. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I was so excited to have a go at something outside of like it being the band stuff that I just went mad with it. And we've been playing with Florence for ages anyway. We kind of grew up in the same scene, so it all felt very natural. And then obviously to get Romy Oliver to re-sing her parts, cut up her vocal. I still play it now, even though it was one of the first things I ever made, which is testament to it. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, great record, obviously, very sad story. Got to play with Sophie a bunch of times and was a massive fan. I think all the music was like, it sums up such an era of London. There's a lot of stuff happening that was really exciting when this record came out, and a lot of it was influenced by Sophie. It was always so good and great live as well.
I've never had the chance to see her live.
Ah, yeah. I think I played in Las Vegas with her a couple of weeks before she passed away. It's all a blur. Mount Kimby, obviously. So really, I love this record. The first track on this record I still play out. Played a lot with them back in the day, and we toured together. Some of the first club nights I ever played in London were like in this tiny room above a pub in Camden, and it was me and Matt Kimby and Joy Orbison and James Blake, all just DJing.
Oh, all the best ones.
Yeah, I mean, none of us released any music basically at that point.
Is it funny to see
cool.
where everyone is now? Like,
yeah, I mean, who knew? Oh, this? Oh yeah. Yeah, well, Charlie came to my club thing and played a set, and it was so nice to have her down there. I think that was the first time I'd ever actually met her. But she played an amazing set, and it was a really fun thing to have at the club because it totally transformed the club into this other thing that it hadn't been for the rest of the time. And yeah, I just really appreciated her coming down. And now we're texting, and hopefully we're going to be able to do some music together at some point.
that'd be crazy. Have you heard the record?
Yeah, it's wicked. Yeah.
So you're a brat now.
I guess so.
You're ready for a brat summer. Well, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing.
That was fun.
Konbini.
I've never listened to this record, but yeah, not much to say.